And good morning. Welcome to a Wednesday. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. Dan Alstrand is back on Monday, but I'm here to keep things running until then. We're going to have some fun, maybe learn a few things along the way. We've got a full show ahead. I'm going to touch on everything from the economy to technology, your health, starting by digging into where the Canadian economy is headed and what's that going to mean for businesses here in Halifax. We're going to have a chat with Patrick Sullivan from the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. He's going to help us break down the latest numbers from the CFIB. From there, shifting gears to the lighter side of the internet and perhaps some risks. We're going to talk about the viral 2016 is back trend that has taken over TikTok and why cybersecurity experts are urging caution if you're going to participate. We're going to take a closer look at new agreements that Dalhousie University has signed or entered into on fracking and a call for them to release details from those agreements. A little bit of fun later in the show with three East Coast faces from the new reality series Canada Shore. They're going to tell us what it's really like living together under the cameras in the house. At 11 o'clock, speaking of house calls with Dr. John Gillis. Going to open up the phone lines, take your health questions. Perhaps something has been worrying you or you just need a second opinion before calling your own doctor. Well, this is your chance to call and ask. Day is going to end with the Mid-Week Meltdown. We're opening up the phone lines to get you on the air. That is a full Wednesday, so let's get cracking. First up, a closer look on where the Canadian economy is headed and what that actually means on the ground for businesses here in Halifax. The latest Main Street Quarterly from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business is out, and it shows the economy grew modestly in late 2025 and is expected to accelerate into early 26. Inflation, it's hovering near the Bank of Canada's target. Private investment is showing signs of recovery, but at the same time, business exits continue to outpace new entries in many sectors, especially the restaurant industry. We understand that is taking a particularly hard hit. So to help us understand what all these signals are meaning, what they're pointing to, especially for employers, entrepreneurs, and investors, joined this morning by Patrick Sullivan, President and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Nice to chat with you.
Great to have you on board to help us with this. We're going to look at the big picture first. When you look at these numbers from the CFIB, does it feel like a real turning point for the economy, or is this feeling more like a fragile rebound that still needs the right conditions to stick?
Well, rebound probably sounds like a strong word, actually, but I think there is less concern than there was almost a year ago when we saw in quarter two the tariffs announced against Canada and many other countries in the world. And we did do our own survey. So we actually have Halifax data here from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And we know that, back in quarter two of 2025, people were a little more pessimistic than they are now, with about a 66% of respondents optimistic and sort of over 20% pessimistic. But now in Halifax, we're actually seeing that 85% of respondents were feeling optimistic about the year ahead. So again, I think rebound's probably too strong a word, but I think we're experiencing less concern, at least up until today, and President Trump speaks. But we're experiencing less concern than we were probably almost a year ago.
Yeah, he is on stage right now in Davos, Switzerland, by the way, so just keeping an eyeball on that. Here in Halifax, are we seeing the same pressures and opportunities locally, or is our region tracking completely off scale to what the CFIB is saying?
Yeah, no, we're seeing much the same. We're seeing rising inflation as the significant concern among businesses. Still, absolutely. I mean, we're still seeing the inputs, if I could put it that way, for many businesses. So whether it's the goods they manufacture, or you mentioned restaurants, whether it's the cost of ingredients or food, that folks are preparing for folks in the restaurant or hospitality business. All of those things are still up. We're still above the Bank of Canada target of 2%. In fact, December, I think, and this is by memory, but I think we were almost 2.4 to 2.7% inflation. And that still continues to concern people. Although we are, Halifax is in a better place, which is kind of surprising.
Why does that surprise you?
Well, it surprises me because we see Ontario, or Toronto in particular, with an over 8% unemployment rate, and Halifax is over 5%. And to be honest, that doesn't usually happen. So, we are a little more insulated here with Halifax as a center of government, Halifax as a defense center. We're not seeing the impacts that they're seeing in some of these other markets across the country.
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is that we're home to a lot of industries that don't fluctuate much with the economic winds.
Yeah, we don't get the big pickups when the economy goes in the right direction, but we don't get the big downsides either in Halifax. And I think when people look around at some of the changes that are going to happen, I mean, D&D just announced a $500 million wharf renovation for Stadacona. And we're expected to see billions of dollars of spin-off in the coming years, not right away, but in the coming years for defense spending. And I think Halifax, as one of the largest centers of the defense industry across the country, will benefit disproportionately from that.
And so that's all government spin-off, but private investment is expected to bounce back a little in early 26, but still at fairly modest levels. What do you think is holding businesses back from investing more aggressively? Yeah, I mean, what?
Yeah, I think it's the uncertainty. I mean, we're when things can change on a whim, not to name names, but things can change on a whim. That concerns people. So, as much as the president of the United States says he'd like to have more businesses invest in the United States, if they don't know what the rules are going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now,
a week from now.
Right. Well, okay. To be fair, you're right.
Yeah.
Then I think people will be slow to make that significant investment. And I think we're seeing the same thing in Canada. People are, we used to have, we still have CUSMA, or the Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. We still have that. That's still in place. But it's now being talked about on Capitol Hill in the United States. It's now being discussed, and it could potentially not renew best case on kind of the terms that we see today.
And if it does renew, it will likely look very, very different from what it does right now.
Yeah, I mean, and you and I are saying that, and I think there are businesses in the United States and businesses in Canada that will speak to whether it's government officials in Canada or government officials in the U.S. There is a great deal of integration between our two countries, and I don't think you can't just turn that off.
No.
The U.S. still needs energy from Canada, and they won't get energy from new markets like Venezuela for years. They still need raw materials. They still need critical minerals. And if we can ramp some of those things up a little more quickly, I think Canada will become an important partner that the U.S. will have to take seriously.
So one of the other findings that concerned me was the stats that business exits have outnumbered new entries for over a year now. From your perspective, what do you think is behind that, and how worried should we be?
Well, I think, there are cycles for things. We're still seeing a lot of businesses still trying to recover, particularly in the tourism and hospitality sector from COVID. So although, we can look at COVID and say it's in the rear view mirror, there were many businesses that had to take on debt, that had to invest in their businesses in not a great way. They weren't building their businesses; they were just keeping them running for a matter of years when we saw traffic down considerably. I think I think we're in a slightly better place now. Folks in Halifax, according to the Canadian Chamber, are feeling more optimistic. But those hospitality business are still facing that trouble of the past with COVID, the erosion of some of their savings, and now inflation. And people are perhaps a little more sensitive to spending just because they're feeling the pressure, and maybe not going out as much and maybe not spending as much on various businesses.
And as you mentioned earlier, job vacancies still remain fairly high here in Halifax, and many firms are still citing skilled labor shortages. What practical steps are you recommending to businesses and policymakers to sort of help ease these constraints that they're facing?
Yeah, it's interesting. Nova Scotia, what do they say? Demographics is the easiest thing to spot because it goes on for such a long period of time, and we saw this coming years and years ago. In Nova Scotia, we have more deaths than births. We had an eroding population. Now that's changed. We've obviously increased our population quite significantly, in the last 5 years, which is great. But we're starting to see that slow down in population growth, and we're still seeing some positiveness in the economy. And we are, there are many folks in the construction industry, in the construction industry in particular. And I have a chart here. So here we go. Professional services, accommodation, food, wholesale, trade, even manufacturing. Some of these folks are all still quoting that it's tough to find employees. So we do still need in Nova Scotia to increase our younger population to fill some of those jobs. And again, slightly over 5% unemployment rate is really a great unemployment rate for Halifax, and slightly more than that is great for Nova Scotia. But we need to have the people to fill those jobs.
Yeah. Well, the CFIB is calling for some pretty bold policy changes in things like reducing taxes, cutting red tape, getting rid of internal trade barriers. So, I mean, if you had a magic wand and could wave it right now, what would be your top couple of priorities to strengthen business confidence in this moment?
Well, I think CFIB has a point. Taxes are high across Canada. I mean, the reality is taxes are higher in Nova Scotia than they are in any other province in Canada. And that does not bode well. We saw some reductions last year, which we're very thankful for, both on the corporate side and on the personal side. But, the personal tax rate or the basic personal exemption is still around $11,000 in Nova Scotia. It's $15,000. In other provinces in Canada, which means that every income level, people are making less money. And businesses, money's mobile. People will go where they can make a greater dollar. And whether that's for themselves or whether that's to invest in their business, that's where they'll set up shop. And people are the same way. They would like to take home a few more dollars so that they can spend it on their family and on housing and on food. So, I think taxes are a big thing. But I guess, I always worry when we talk about reducing taxes because government doesn't listen. They kind of turn their hearing aids off at that point. What I would say is government needs to invest. They need to invest in artificial intelligence. They need to invest in technology so that we can make government more efficient, so the cost of government can go down, so that ultimately our taxes can go down. So that is a big one for us. Red tape, for sure. Reducing regulation would help businesses set up more quickly. And of course, we'd be wildly enthusiastic, and so would businesses about that.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Patrick Sullivan, President and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, thank you so very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate the call.
All right, take care and have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, it is 10:14, and we're going to take a break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the program. 10:18 is the time, -7 as we overlook Robie Street here in Halifax. Looks like the sunshine is going to be sticking around for most of today. Next up, we're going to talk about a viral social media trend that has swept platforms like TikTok. It's a resurgence of nostalgia for 2016. 2016. I've got Spanx older than that, but it's been tagged as 2026 is the new 2016. As fun as it is, it also raises some serious cybersecurity concerns. Across TikTok and other apps, millions of folks are posting a decade-old memory with special filters and throwbacks. But experts are warning that participating in these trends without caution can lead people to actually share sensitive information when they don't want to. And that potentially opens the door to privacy and security risks. So to help us understand both the trend itself and the security implications, we've got Toronto cybersecurity expert Ritesh Kotak, who has joined us this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, listen, let's try to understand this a little better. The 2016 comeback trend is all over social media right now. From a cybersecurity perspective, how can something that just seems so harmless actually expose people to risks that they're not expecting?
So the easiest way to think about this is a personal example that I experienced. So I saw, and by the way, I also posted something about the 2016 trend. I jumped on the bandwagon, but I was very cognizant about what I was posting, something that had been previously posted, making sure that it doesn't have any personal identifiable information that could be used by fraudsters or hackers. And I'll give you the example. I saw one of my personal friends post a picture saying, in 2016, I bought my first car, and phenomenal. He hadn't posted that in 2016. He posted it in 2026. Here's the thing. I gave him a call and I said, I want to do a little bit of an experiment. Can you do me a favor? Can you tell me what your security banking questions are? And one of the questions was, what is the color of my first car?
Oh.
And I was like, look, it's not that hard to know that it was whatever color it was. So that is one example of many examples of how sometimes we don't, we post something because we're excited about it. We want to jump on this bandwagon. But on the flip side, we may be giving up information that hackers and fraudsters could use. Imagine someone calling you up and saying, I'm calling from the bank and let me verify. I'll answer one of your security questions. So it is, you got to think before you post, hit that pause button. It's a fun trend, but it can be weaponized against you.
Okay. Can you think of some other personal or device information that listeners should be cautious about when sharing older photos or videos?
So one of the biggest things right now, or the hot button topics, is artificial intelligence, the ability to take an image and really transform it. But it's important to understand AI is learning as time progresses. In fact, the best line I ever heard is the worst AI you're ever going to use is right now, just because it's just continuously getting better. And it learns based on the data that we input. And if we're inputting data of old pictures of ourselves, or in some cases, what I've seen is of minors. In 2016, my first child was born, and there's a picture, and you tag your child's social media today. That is some very important information that the algorithm could essentially crawl, collect, and then it can essentially know how the individual is progressing and find information or other images that could be available online. And to some people, it may be like, look, it's just a photo. Okay, this is fear mongering. What I tell people is, look, when it comes to this type of these types of risks, think of it as your life as one big puzzle. And everything that you put up online, or all that information that you give to a vendor or to a third party, is one piece of that puzzle. There might be 1,000 pieces, but if you get enough pieces of that puzzle, without having all the pieces, you know what the picture is. And that's very intrusive and can be used by fraudsters and hackers for nefarious purposes.
Yeah. One of the ones that I've always been very cautious and fearful of are any apps or games that require your face image to be captured. Like there's one going around right now where you upload a picture of your face and they match it with various hairstyles.
Yeah, and there was one a few years ago that was very concerning as well. And I discussed it at length from from a security standpoint, is where you take a picture of yourself and it ages you to what you'll look like when you're 65. And I joke around. I say, I got that image, and I was mortified, and I ended up getting a gym membership and eating healthier because I didn't want to look like that, 20, 30, 40 years from now. But on the flip side is, what information did that app actually want about me? It wanted access to my album, my photos, and the reason I wanted that is so I can easily take a photo and age it. It also wanted access to my address book, and the reason for that is so I can share it easily with all my friends. But there were apps that were literally taking people's information, their address book, images that you had given access to, and uploading them on overseas servers, which raised another concern of who actually has access to it. If you actually delete that account, does it actually get deleted, or is it retained? Is that information then sold to third-party brokers? And if you don't have answers to those questions, just think twice before posting sensitive information.
Yeah. So viral trends like 2026 is the new 2016. They spread pretty fast because of recommendation engines. Are there security or misinformation risks tied to how these social media algorithms push out content?
That has been one of the biggest issues, is around why is content targeted towards particular individuals. In fact, when it comes to what we call algorithmic transparency, there really is no transparency. I just scroll through my feed, and there's information that gets pushed to me based on what the algorithm believes content I will like. There's been studies done that says the more shocking the content, the more likely we are to watch it and stay on the platform. Those are kind of one of the big issues. And people ask, well, why was this content pushed to me? What information do you have about me? And there's no legal requirement to actually release that information. In fact, a lot of companies will just claim that information is proprietary, it's protected by intellectual property laws. We don't have to disclose how you got something pushed to you. And every time around the world, the governments have tried to legislate and get more information. Majority of the time, it's been extremely difficult or just completely shut down.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok and similar apps are collecting all kinds of user data in the background, even when you aren't actively posting. How does that data collection work, and what are the potential implications for privacy?
So there's been tons of reports done by the Office of the Privacy Commissioner, which is the federal privacy regulatory body in Canada, when it was looking at commercial applications and the type of data that it was collecting. There were popular restaurant apps that were collecting information even when you weren't using the app, such as your location-based information, so they could hyper-target advertising to you. There's also device-related information as well, and I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that you might have an app off, so the app is off on my phone, but behind the scenes you may have given it permission to continuously track you, to track your data, to take pieces of information such as your location, your battery life, the type of device that you're using, the content that you have on that app as well, your interactions, how long you spend on the app, how long you spend on other apps as well, and take all that information and collect it. And 9 times out of 10, the reason they want that information is so they can hyper-target ads to you and commercialize your data. But there have been situations when that data has been misused.
And so just to wrap up, if folks still want to join in the fun online, what is the simplest and smartest steps they can take to protect their data, avoid unintentionally revealing more than they mean to?
I tell people, post stuff that's already been publicly posted, if it's 2016, but just hit that pause button, analyze that photo before putting it up there. Is it a part of any of your security questions? Look at the background as well. Do you have any sensitive information there? And if there's other people in that photo, just ask their permission before posting it. These are fun trends. You can get involved. You can potentially go viral, but on the flip side, it can also be used for evil. So just make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
All right, Ritesh Kotak, thank you so very much. Cybersecurity expert out of Toronto. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. It is 10:27. We're going to break down for the news. Blake Priddle will join us momentarily. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. So glad to have you joining us for some time this morning. Next up, we've got standing by Ken Summers, who is a longtime member of the Nova Scotia Fracking Resource and Action Coalition, NSFRAC as it's called. It's a community-based group that's been raising concerns about hydraulic fracturing and onshore natural gas development in Nova Scotia for better part of a decade, over a decade. NSFRAC has been advocating for public awareness of the environmental, the health, and the regulatory issues that are associated with fracking, especially in communities out like Hants County area where waste handling and regulatory gaps have been ongoing concerns. Well, the province's recent partnership with Dalhousie University to oversee a $30 million onshore natural gas research and exploration program has, shall we say, reignited debate on the province's approach to fossil fuel development. And there are critics, including NSFRAC, that are worried about the environmental risks and the regulatory oversight. Ken, thank you so very much for joining us this morning to help better explain the concerns and why we should all be concerned.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, first of all, Ken, can you explain NSFRAC's main concerns with the province's new natural gas research and exploration program that's being led by Dalhousie University?
I think it might be useful to step back a little bit first to say how we got here.
Okay.
You mentioned that we've been around for a decade. We had the moratorium for more than a decade, and it took a few years to get to the moratorium on hydraulic fracturing, and that was a lot an outgrowth of what was called the Wheeler Commission, the Hydraulic Fracturing Review Commission, and so there was many participants on that, including a few from industry. There was a thorough review of very serious papers that were put out, including by the industry and industry supporting participants. There were hundreds of well thought out submissions. It was a very thorough process, quite the opposite of what the Premier has talked about, is that putting a moratorium is lazy policy. Actually, in practice, that was not lazy policy, and taking off the moratorium was non-existent policy. There was no policy discussion. So the moratorium came off, be that as it may, and like I said, with no discussion, just we have to do this. And so here we are. The province said open for business. Moratorium's over. We'd like somebody to step forward. And no, not surprisingly, no company came forward that wants to spend money on exploring the possibility of fracking here. And when I say exploring it, it almost has to be in quote marks. You drill and frack wells. It's only exploration in the sense that you don't know, nobody knows what's going to come of that.
Right.
So basically open for business. Nobody comes forward. Several months more later now, the province says, well, we'll pay 100% of the exploration costs if anybody comes forward to do this. Now, that might bring somebody forward. But one of the most interesting parts of this is that Dalhousie University is actually administering this. And it's put forward as, Dalhousie will do studies on the safety and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the program actually positions Dal as sort of the central facilitator of the research, the setting of the criteria, the basic oversight. What are the pros and cons of having a university play that role?
Well, in terms of what was set forth, it was not just set forth as doing the research and study, which is not clear where that comes in. What was clearly put out is it will be Dow that will put out the request for proposal for anyone who wants to do exploration. So they'll handle the requests for proposal. This is a pretty unusual partnership for a university.
Yeah.
And so that's basically the current concern right now is what does that involve? The main issue is transparency. What is Dow's role? Where are we going to ever see this agreement with the province? Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you guys are calling on Dalhousie to release the agreements that they have with the government. I mean, can they legally do that? What specific details do you think should be made public?
Well, there's always going to be, it's a contract that they have with the province, which, by the way, the province said yesterday it's not finalized, which is very strange. Yes, it may change over time, but it is finalized. At any rate, I forgot. Could you repeat your question?
Well, I mean, what do you see as the specifics that you want made public? I mean, does Dalhousie have the legal ability to even release these agreements? What are the details that you want? Yeah.
Well, that's the part that I was forgetting. As far as the legal, there has to be care in some privacy commercial details, but there is an agreement, a basic agreement that they can release the contents of.
Yeah.
Sure, some details may need to be withheld, but Dalhousie is a university. We want to see what this agreement with the province is. So to be able to examine questions like how independent can they be of the province? It's being set out as Dalhousie is doing the research, will be reviewing the research. But for example, is Dalhousie free in writing and also in practice, i.e. free of pressure, to come to whatever conclusions it can, it will, or are there, are they free of pressure from the government because the government is making claims already that fracking is safe.
Right.
And it will be done safely.
So you just want to know what the guardrails are in terms of what Dal can and can't do, what the scope of the report will be.
Right. Yeah. Basically, what are the guardrails, and not in. See, we'll get lots of verbiage from everybody about what the guardrails are. General comments. What the guardrails are in print should be a matter of public review, of transparency.
So based on your experience with fracking in Nova Scotia, including, I think I remember there were issues around waste ponds and regulation up in the Kennecook area. But, what lessons should the province be learning as it moves into onshore gas exploration?
Well, by the way, I live here. That's how I got involved. I live in the Kennecook Knoll area.
Oh, okay.
So in terms of when it actually happened, we're going back nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
And so the lessons we learned were the subject of the Wheeler Commission, which the conclusion really was, in which Mr. Wheeler has reminded people that, the province was unprepared, to say the least, the first time. The waste ponds, and I lived here, and dealing with them was a circus. Keystone Cop circus of make stuff up as you go. I'm sure that the province learned something from that, but what did we learn? and supposedly that was to be dealt with in the intervening years, the years following. Should we ever come back to fracking again? Well, there's been no discussion, and Mr. Wheeler has been pointing this out. There's been no discussion about what we did learn, what we need, any of that.
All right. Listen, we've run out of time for now. Ken Summers, NoFRAC, the Nova Scotia Fracking Resource and Action Coalition. Thank you so very much for helping us better understand this deal with Dalhousie and the potential that the potential concerns that are out there around it. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you take care. Bye. It is 10:45. We are going to take a quick break. On the other side, though, fans of reality TV, stick around. We're going to be chatting with some of the cast of Canada Shore in just a moment. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. 10:48 is the time. Mostly sunny and -6 outside on Roby Street. And reality TV fans, get ready, because Canada Shore, the Canadian spin-off of the iconic Jersey Shore franchise, is dropping its first episodes on Paramount Plus tomorrow, already creating a buzz from coast to coast. The show follows 10 Canadians living together for a summer of parties, romance, conflict, and unforgettable memories in Kelowna, British Columbia. And all of it, of course, with that signature Shore energy. Today, 3 cast members straight from the Maritimes. We have with us today Ryleigh Gregory, who's from Bridgewater, Emmy Sharpe from Fredericton, and Keyaira Snow, who is from right here in Halifax. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, so listen, thank you so much for joining us. What made you decide to sign up for Canada Shore? And, did you ever imagine you'd be living in the house in Kelowna with 9 strangers for the summer? I'll start with Keyaira first.
I think what intrigued me the most about the show was meeting a bunch of new faces, new personalities, stepping outside of my comfort zone for sure. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like an unforgettable adventure that obviously I could not pass up on. British Columbia, it was my first time in the beautiful place, and I was just so amazed every single day I was there. I never saw mountains before I went there, so wow. It was amazing to go there, see all the beautiful mountains. Everybody was so sweet, and it was just, like I said, an unforgettable experience.
Yeah. What about you, Emmy?
Oh, it was awesome. I met 9 lifelong friends, got to drink some wine and party. It was a great time, and likewise, I've never been to Kelowna before, and I definitely have to go back now.
Oh, and so now, Ryleigh, when you signed up where you submitted your name for the show, did you guys know at that point that it was going to be in Kelowna, or that was still a mystery?
No, we had absolutely no idea where it was going to be located, and we didn't even know what the name of the show was at that point. So there was definitely a lot of surprises throughout the entire time of, all the auditioning process and everything. They were keeping it under wrap that it was a part of like the Shore franchise. So it was really exciting when we figured it all out. And I also haven't been to the West Coast, so that was a pretty extremely amazing experience, actually.
Awesome. So listen, you're all from the Maritimes, and we all know it's a different vibe out here. So what kind of East Coast energy or personality do you think that you brought into the Shore house that maybe might surprise the viewers?
I feel like there's a certain type of humor and personality that comes from Nova Scotians. Mm-hmm. And I think that we definitely bring that, especially the 3 of us. There's just certain quirks that we have as Nova Scotians that I just think we're kind of perfect for a show like this. I feel like we're bred for it. So
And I'm just going to add on to Ryleigh there. I did actually grow up in Amherst. It was only, I think, about 3 years ago when I moved to Fredericton for school. So
Oh, wow.
I am a Nova Scotian in my heart and the roots. Okay, yes, all three of us are Scotians, baby.
Excellent, excellent. So that was then a triple dose of it in the house.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
We definitely hit them like
Definitely
a hurricane.
So reality TV certainly looks wild on screen. Just full disclosure, we were given a screener to watch a bit of the show ahead of time, and I mean, it looks wild on screen. What is something about Canada Shore that's totally different in real life from what fans might be expecting from the trailer that they've seen so far?
So I feel like in the house, there are 10 different personalities trying to get along, learning how to live together and mesh together. So with that, there's bound to be disagreements or some drama and arguments. But what people might not know is truly outside of the show, like we are all a genuine family and we all get along and love each other. And like everything is real that you see too. But yeah, we get along.
Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah, I mean, the emotions are real.
Yeah, I think that what you see on screen, you have to remember you are just watching little tiny bits and pieces of what happened throughout our summer. We were there for over a month, and I mean, you can only see so much, hear so much. And yeah, she definitely made a good point outside of recording and filming and everything. We genuinely are all really close and we get along very well. So whatever you do see on camera, you have to remember that's just little snippets of everything that we actually go through and have went through together.
And, and as I said, the emotions are real. I mean, it's a pretty intense summer that you spent together in the house. Was there something that you learned about yourself that may have surprised you that when you look back now? Like each one of you must have learned something.
I think we definitely all did, but I think you learn a lot about yourself outside of your regular environment, just your regular vices, your regular things that you do to cope. Being taken away from those sorts of things, of course, you're going to have big blowouts and you're going to have arguments and you're going to have ups and downs. But that's kind of the whole point, I guess, at the end of the day. But yeah, it can be, obviously, that can cause, that can make things difficult.
Yeah.
I think we all had to learn and step outside of our comfort zone. And I mean, you're in a house, you can't just run away from your problems. You're kind of forced to hit them head on in the moment. So I think that we all had to learn different ways of coping. And, we had to learn all these different personalities and how to handle things differently with different people. And you definitely learn a lot about yourself. You learn about other people. And yeah, I think the whole time we were all just learning every single day. And I think we can all say that we walked out of there and took a lot with us.
Well, and it's,
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. And often, reality TV is sort of, written off. But this is really a social experiment that we watch.
It truly is. I was saying that too. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else that you learned about yourself that surprised you?
I will say I learned that I can go a month without a phone.
Yes.
A month without a phone.
Right.
So, Canada Shore is now one of the franchises in the Jersey Shore universe. And Jersey Shore is known for its catchphrase, Gym Tan Laundry, or GTL. What is the Canadian equivalent of GTL? Or is there one? What is it?
I feel like it depends on who in the cast you ask, because there definitely are some that genuinely gin tan laundry is their thing.
Yeah.
I think for me, you can give me the tan, and for me and Emmy probably add spaghetti and a nap. So
yes, Ryleigh, yes.
Tan nap. And then Key, honestly, she's a gin tan laundry girly pop.
I think I'm a gym. I don't love to do laundry.
Oh, fair.
I love to tan. I love to gym. And I love to have a nice, cold, refreshing bevy. So
yeah,
I think maybe
I like to drink wine
and drink.
Yes.
Awesome. So what do you hope that viewers take away from watching Canada Shore, especially people who might just tune in, for the fun, but end up investing in the storylines?
I feel like for me, I would say that Canada can do it too, that we are just as fun and if not more fun. So let's see, if we can bring it just like all the other versions of the show.
And we have stronger beer.
And we got stronger beer. Clock it, Emmy, clock it.
Yeah. So now this was filmed back in the summer, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All of July.
And so now you guys are all back home, back to your regular lives. What do each one of you do regularly 9 to 5?
Well, I was originally dog grooming when I was filming the show. When I got out of filming, I kind of just went off on my own and started dabbling in all kinds of different things, just on a path to figuring out what it is I really want to do in my life. And I think I'm just sort of a student of life at the moment, just figuring it out, taking it day by day. I think that everybody can agree there was quite a bit coming back home after filming that everybody had to figure out. I think, a lot of people left behind jobs and all kinds of sorts of things. So I think we're all kind of just figuring things out as we go.
Yeah. What does the new normal look like for the rest of you?
I did marketing beforehand, like a lot of freelance marketing. So I've kind of continued doing what I was already doing. But I will say, like, with the show and stuff, it's been very helpful having some of that knowledge going into all of this press stuff and all of that fun stuff. But I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm sort of a student of life as well. I'm very open to whatever life is going to throw at me. I'm not really 100% sure of the trajectory, and I'm kind of just open to seeing what life has to offer.
That's awesome. You guys are still young enough to figure it out. I love it.
Exactly.
Yes. Ryleigh Gregory, Emmy Sharpe, and Keyaira Snow, cast members from Canada Shore, thank you so very much for your time this morning, and good luck when the show drops tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Everybody tune in.
All right. Take care. Yeah. It is 10:58. We are going to take a break for the news with Blake Priddle, and then on the other side, House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. 902-405-6000 if you have something to ask the good doctor. We'll get him on after the news. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the program. So glad to have you spend some time with us this morning. And joining us now to spend some time with us for the next hour is Dr. John Gillis. It is House Calls with Dr. John Gillis, taking your health-related calls now at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Welcome back to the show, Doctor.
Good day. How's it going?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Listen, while we're waiting for some folks to call in, we did get an email from M who says, I don't have time to call in, so could you ask Dr. John or someone in the health authority the following? I've been waiting for a CT scan for months. What is going on? I even said I'd go to New Glasgow, a shorter waiting time. I live in Dartmouth. Surgeon needs the CT scan due to complications after hip surgery, impingement from July of 2025. Thank you, anonymous listener. What's going up with CT scans? Do we have an issue getting CTs these days? Dr. John?
Please. Yeah, sorry about that. My phone and my computer are fighting with each other. I got you now. Sorry about that.
Okay. Sorry about that. Did you hear the email or?
Yeah, so I heard, been waiting for a CT scan, offered to go wherever. What was the end of it?
Yeah, just basically she needs the CT or he needs the CT scan for complications after hip surgery. Impingement, they say. So, they offered to go to New Glasgow or another location and still waiting.
Yeah, so the issue there is these scans all get triaged, meaning a radiologist will look at them and determine the urgency, based on, what the story is, how the patient's doing. Is it something elective or is it something life-threatening? Someone's having terrible headaches and someone's worried about a brain tumor, that's going to get triaged above, someone that's got a sore knee or hip, even though that's important. Being in pain and function is important, that we get people moving again, but, a number of factors go into that. So that's probably why that it's been triaged on the lower level. Sometimes, we don't agree with the level, and if I think something's more urgent than how it's been initially triaged, I will sometimes call and say, can you take another look at this? This person's declining, or this is more urgent for the following reasons. And radiologists are under no obligation to just listen to what I have to say for the sake of it. But communication is important in those matters. So I guess what I would say is, if it's felt to be urgent, whoever did the referral can circle back and ask for it to be looked at again and re-triaged.
Okay, hopefully that helps you, Em. Interesting story I saw about health screenings, speaking of CT scans. Health screenings, what are some of the ones that people commonly miss or delay, especially as they get older?
Well, I mean, the big things that, we recommend, I guess taking a step back is, there's still a perception, for a lot of people that everybody should have blood work. I even hate the term blood work. Like, you're not digging a ditch or, drilling for oil, but, that's what it gets called. A lot of things aren't done unnecessarily every year. You don't necessarily need, all the things every year. The big things that, are important are, for men, prostate screening after 50, the blood test and an actual exam, colon screening with the stool test after 50, for women, pap tests and, breast exams, to early identify conditions that are common and can be treated. So those are some of the big things. Blood glucose screening, I think, is important to watch for diabetes. And then, we try to be selective based on family history. If someone's healthy and has no problems, they probably don't need their electrolytes or their kidney function checked every year, unless it's a reason to be suspicious. So it's trying to focus on the things where clear screening pathways and processes exist, and then to selectively determine if we need to do other things, I guess is how I would phrase it.
All right. 902-405-6000 is the number to call to talk to Dr. Gillis. 1-877-801-8255 is the other number as well. Saw a story this week that looked at childhood vaccination rates in Canada compared to the U.S. And, while Canada still maintains relatively strong coverage, there are certainly signs of slipping confidence and growing hesitancy. When vaccination rates dip even slightly, are there real practical, what does that mean in practical terms for community health and disease risk? And we're certainly seeing that with measles right now.
Yeah, so the general concept is one of what we call herd immunity, H-E-R-D, like a
herd of cattle.
Yeah, exactly. So, if 90, and the numbers vary depending on the condition, but just as an example, if 95% of the population is vaccinated, even if a case pops up, the odds of it spreading are very low because there are very few people, what we call vectors, where it can spread to. As those numbers start to go down, there's more and more people who can it spread to and spread it. And that's unfortunately what's starting to happen. And the result, sadly, measles was eradicated. And, we've had, particularly in the U.S., kids die of measles, which is, very frustrating. Like, if you spend an hour on the internet and look in the wrong place, the anti-vax movement is alive and well, and some of it is ideological. A lot of it is, driven by money. You don't want to be on that. You want to be on these supplements for your immune system and to cleanse yourself. So buy this and buy that. But the conspiracies are still alive and well. Even COVID. I read something a couple of days ago. From an elderly person, and you want to empathize. You want to think about this, and you don't want to just say, you're wrong for the sake of, because I think you're wrong because I know better. That's not helpful either.
No.
But this was, my husband or my partner, had the COVID shot 6 years ago and recently developed heart problems. Well, that's a pretty weak correlation, right?
Yeah.
6 years on, people in their 70s and 80s, they get heart problems. Does that mean we should ignore it? Absolutely not. There were complications, and excellent data by now across hundreds of millions of doses that in point, whatever the case may be, 0.01% of people will have, an issue with X, Y, or Z. You have to watch for those things. You have to track it. And if it's becoming too prevalent, you have to try and figure out why. But for the most part, these complications are very rare. But, if you fall down that logic rabbit hole that, I had a COVID vaccine 6 years ago, I had a heart attack this year, therefore the COVID vaccine caused it.
Yeah.
The correlation is not there. I mean, I got hit in the chest with a hockey stick when I was 12. That's probably what caused my heart disease. Of course it isn't, but, the examples can become ridiculous. But
yeah,
ultimately communication and knowledge are important in these matters.
Well, and I've noticed, too, that different provinces have different recommendations for vaccines. Why is that?
I think they're mostly similar. There are a few subtle differences. There are some differences in what provinces allow to be exempt. I don't think there are major differences. Some of it is around funding, what's covered. Some of it is around the timing. But for the most part, they stick to the Public Health Agency of Canada general guidelines, and the specifics may vary a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, what we're seeing in the U.S. with the massive change, unfortunately, is not based on science. It's based on our friend RFK's political and ideological beliefs, which intersect very poorly with science.
It is House Calls with Dr. John Gillis, taking your calls now at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We have a phone line open if you want to give us a call right now with your health-related questions. It is 11:15. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. It is 11:18 and -5 in Halifax. Welcome back to the show, and welcome back to House Calls with Dr. John Gillis, taking your healthcare questions at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We do have phone lines open for the doctor this morning, and another story that I saw recently is about super-agers. Are you familiar with that term?
I am not.
So super-agers is the term that's used to describe people in their 80s, 90s, and even their 100s who are maintaining memory and brain function, at a rate similar to people that are decades younger. And, researchers are studying what sets them apart, these super-agers. But, are there common lifestyle patterns among these folks that are in great shape, or is it mostly genetics?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, you see from time to time, the story of the man or woman who, ate, drank, and smoked what they wanted, and they're 98. That you're pretty sure that that's genetic, most of it. But people take better care of themselves. Who eat well, exercise, drink less. That makes a big difference too. So I think it's a combination. I think there are factors of diet, there are factors of culture, there are, environment, and people are studying this a lot. The incidences of heart disease in Asian cultures, don't eat as much meat or high-fat foods, processed foods, have been lower for years, and, a lot of that's related to diet. Some of the longevity, the oldest folks in the world, come from traditionally that part of the world. So, it's finding the mix of the science and the genetics, and trying to separate out the hocus pocus and the BS, because there's a lot of that out there too.
Yeah.
If you eat this yak hair that's been ground up and mixed with Himalayan mountain water, you'll live to be 150. Well, it's probably BS, but we before we knew that aspirin was in bark, there was a medicinal piece to the bark, and we found out what that was. So, often this truth in the legend or in the tradition, but it's separating that is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah, and is it never too late to start? I mean, if you are in your 60s and 70s, you can certainly take steps to improve your health or just maintain what you've got.
Absolutely. No matter how old you are, and we sound like a broken record, eat better, be active, don't smoke, watch, things that you might, due to excess, alcohol, cannabis, all the things. And it makes a difference. And it's interesting, in my line of work when, I see someone at a point in time and at another point in time. And sometimes you see remarkable decline.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see improvement in people who have really made an effort to change their life, to change how they're doing things. And it sometimes doesn't take a big change, but a lot of it is mental. It's easy to get in a rut. You don't feel well, you don't want to move. Food tastes good, but food makes you gain more weight, and when you gain more weight, you eventually become less motivated and find it harder to exercise. It's a bit of a vicious cycle. So it's leaning on the positivity and encouraging people to do those things, without shaming them or telling them to stop living and enjoying their life.
Yeah.
Finding out.
And I mean, I think the average person really does not understand aging. Like, what information, what understanding about aging do you wish your patients had?
I think, mainly, what they can do to improve their situation in terms of lifestyle choices. I think a lot of us, most people, you wake up and it's another day. You're living your life. You don't necessarily feel your day to day, week to week. But if you don't make positive changes, you don't change that channel, and it's very easy to get stuck in that rut of negativity.
Well, and yeah, for so many folks, it's not living; it's just existing from crisis to crisis. So it can certainly take a toll on the body as well. That type of lifestyle.
Absolutely. And,
yeah.
It's also hard to sometimes just to break those patterns when they're social, they're societal. It's what you do and what you're used to doing. People drink because they may crave it, but they also do it because it's part of their social fabric. But smoking is that as well, right?
Yeah.
It's a physical addiction, but my friends smoke. We go for a smoke break, and breaking those things can be challenging. But like I said, you do see people make remarkable turnarounds, and it's gratifying to see it. But you do see the opposite as well.
All right, 902-405-6000 is the number to call, or 1-877-801-8255. 11:24 is the time, and Paul is joining us on the line. Good morning, Paul, and welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. What's your question?
Basically, this is a simple, easy question. I just wanted the doctor's opinion on fasting.
What, sorry?
An opinion on fasting.
Yeah.
Fasting, fasting diets, I think, like any diet, works well for some people. What they say about it is, you need to find something that is sustainable and your lifestyle. So, the idea behind a fasting diet is, you go longer periods without eating, and then you eat a later meal, maybe later in the day. Helps your body break down fat and control your calorie intake. Often very effective in the short term, not necessarily effective in the long term if it's not sustainable for people. So that is really the issue. Do I think it can be helpful? Absolutely. Personally, I don't tend to eat much for breakfast. I rarely eat lunch, and I tend to eat later in the day. So my lifestyle, has been de facto that for some time, and not necessarily intentionally. Have something small in the morning, nothing for lunch, and then eat later. That works for me, but I wasn't trying to do that. Now, if you dig into the patterns and why it works, and at the same time make sure you still need to make sure you get enough carbs, enough protein, enough fat in your diet. I mean, some of these fasting diets, lean heavily towards meat only or protein only, and may work in terms of losing weight because they make the body dump all its carbs. but they are not necessarily good for your long-term health in terms of balance and diet. So to answer the question, I think fasting works for some people. I think it's natural for some people. Understanding what it's doing and having balance with it, I think, gets the best result and also makes it the most sustainable. If you don't eat all day and then you show up at home and eat a 24-ounce porterhouse and drink 2 bottles of wine, you're not doing yourself any favors there. But if you're managing it and it works for you, then it can be quite effective.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I guess there would be various other reasons. I mean, weight loss, of course, but are there other reasons why people would undertake a fasting regimen?
Yeah, I think some people, do it because of, really how it fits their lifestyle. They're busy. They don't want to or feel a need to sit down and have a traditional meal. In terms of, how it affects other health pieces, if you don't eat, some people, get, an acidy stomach and it doesn't work for them. They need to eat regularly. Other people, they're just fine with it. So and everybody's body's different, how they respond to different foods.
And the rest of us just get hangry.
That's right. Really angry and want to fight folks. Absolutely. So, there's no cookie cutter. There are guidelines. Nothing's perfect. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's finding balance. We've talked on the show in the past about, Ozempic and drugs like that. I used to be really against them, to the point where it was like, it's not a crutch. You need to, get moving and watch what you eat. But, I have, there are some people that no matter what they do for metabolic reasons, it doesn't move the needle. And there are other people that they just need a kickstart.
Yeah.
I've seen some very good results with people trying these medications, and we're starting to see some other interesting data points with it. And I have a few patients, on Wegovy for weight loss who have told me, effectively incidentally, that their alcohol consumption has dropped significantly. But not intentionally. I had one gentleman tell me, I like wine, but when I go out to dinner, I'll have 1 or 2 glasses instead of 5 or 6. And, it's like, I'm not trying to do that. I just don't feel like having more. And it's, the effect of the medication on cravings and impulse, that sort of thing. So it's interesting how, as we see some of these things, we learn the good and the bad about them and how they.
All right, it is just coming up on 11:29. We are with Dr. John Gillis and House Calls. Your calls welcome at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle is standing by. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And welcome back. We continue House Calls with Dr. John Gillis at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255, taking your health-related questions. And just before the break, we were talking about the weight loss drugs. And, I guess that the reports that some patients are making of, these drugs kind of taking away their cravings for alcohol as well. Is this something that is common knowledge now, or are studies sort of being done to see the whats and the wheres and the whys that these drugs are having on booze consumption?
Yeah, so I think you're going to start to see that. So, like, what's interesting with a lot of these drugs, these drugs were. Semaglutide was designed as a diabetic drug, and it's been around for a number of years. It's been studied a lot. So, when you do a study, your primary endpoint is what's this doing to people's blood sugar. But they're looking at all sorts of other stuff as well. Side effects, anything else that might crop up. Drugs like Rogaine, was designed for something else, but they found out during the studies that people started growing hair when they were when they were on this drug, and then its use became co-opted, at and not for its original purpose.
Well, Viagra, that was originally a heart medication, yes?
Well, now it's a heart-shaking medication, but
yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, so exactly. They found, so I think what you're going to start seeing is, as we get, millions of data points from drugs like Wegovy or Ozempic, they're looking at what it does to blood sugar, they're looking at what it does to appetite and weight loss. They're still looking for bad things too, which they need to do. Like if I've been on this for 5 years, what's that going to do to me? But I think you'll start to see, as reports come out and people are talking about it, they'll start to look at these data points specifically, and they'll take, they'll do a study. They'll take 100, men that are 50 years old on Wegovy and compare them to 100 men that are getting a placebo of Wegovy, and they may look at their food intake, but they may specifically look at their alcohol intake or how many cigarettes they're smoking, these sorts of things, to see what other impacts it's having. And that's how, the use of these things can change.
Well, and the method of the drugs is changing as well. I mean, it's now moving from an injectable to a pill, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the pill is daily. For some people, that's a better choice. For some people, injectable once a week is a good choice. But, yeah, it is evolving. And, again, how these things are meant to evolve, they should be studied, they should be tracked. And, like I said, my view of these drugs has changed significantly. I was, when people would ask me about me 2 years ago, I'd be like, hell no. Get to the gym, get off the couch, drop the chalupa. Now it's, it has a place, and it's really helped some people. And, it's finding that balance, but that balance comes from knowledge and from data and from facts.
Yeah.
But sometimes the starting point for the facts is what people are telling you. It's, hey, by the way, I'm smoking less since I've been on this. Oh, that's pretty interesting. And then somebody, enough of those reports come and somebody studies that, and that's how, some of these other uses for these drugs come along.
All right, 902-405-6000 is the number, 1-877-801-8255. And we have Robin joining us on the show. Good morning and welcome, Robin. You've got a question for the doctor.
Good morning, both of you. I do have a question about gabapentin. Its designed use and the effects, the poor effects that it might have on long-term memory. I'll just hang up now and listen for the answer.
All right. Thank you so much, Robin. Dr. Gillis?
Yeah, gabapentin is a drug that I think was originally designed for preventing or treating seizures, but its main use currently is for treating nerve pain, neuropathic pain. So, I prescribe a fair bit of gabapentin, for that. It's one of the main things we use as a non-opiate medication. Affects the neurotransmitter. The name gabapentin comes from its effect on a neurotransmitter called GABA. And by influencing that neurotransmitter, it can really reduce chronic pain. The side effects of gabapentin, can be fatigue, and, as doses go up, it can affect people's memory to some degree. Typically we start low, go slow with the dose increases, and see how people do. And people tolerate it differently. I've got people on maximum dose who have no side effects that are doing great. I have people that try a small amount. Max is 3,600 milligrams a day. I've got people that try 300 milligrams and they're a zombie. They can't function. That's uncommon, but it really is a matter of a responsible trial to see if it works and to see if the benefits exceed the side effects or any potential downside.
Is this traditionally a short-term drug, or is this drug prescribed for long-term use?
I think typically it's long-term use. You do see, instances where somebody has an injury, a fracture or an injury to a hand, or a laceration where there's been some acute nerve damage and they may have some pain. Sometimes it's used to treat that in the short term, and as that injury heals, the injury, the need for it may go away. With chronic, back and neck pain, from nerve pain, sometimes when we get the pain under control, people can come off it. Sometimes the reason for that, though, is that the reason for the original pain, it might be a herniated disc that is irritating a nerve. Over time, that disc dries up and is no longer affecting the nerve, so you're helping the body cope, while in some cases it heals itself. So, it's used often for long-term use. It's sometimes used for short-term use with injuries, and sometimes people can come off it, if they're feeling better or an injury sort of heals itself.
Yeah. It's also used in veterinary medicine as well, because my dog was on it last week for discomfort and pain after a Lyme diagnosis. So they're using it for dogs and cats too. 902-405-6000 is the number, and Tanya has joined us this morning with a question. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lisa. I just wanted to say, hey, I used to listen to you back in the day on Q104.
Guilty
Great
as
memories
charged.
from back then. So, and Dr. Gillis, question for you is, I was born in 1970, so I'm pretty sure I got the MMR vaccine. So if I want to get a measles, should I get a booster, or is the full vaccine that I would get?
Great question.
Yeah, so I could be wrong, and I'm wrong often. I'm not aware of an isolated measles vaccine that's available. You would normally.
So I can't get one?
Did I say that?
No, so I cannot get a vaccine?
No, didn't say that. I said measles doesn't come by itself.
Yeah, you might have to take the complete package.
Gotcha. Would that be a problem?
Well, it depends if you need it. So, people born after, 1970, they say should get a booster if they haven't had two. If you're born before 1970, it's felt that you don't need it.
Yeah, I was born in 1970.
Yeah, so you're right on the edge there.
Yeah.
For most people, if you're not sure, there's very little downside to getting an MMR vaccine.
Okay.
Covered its mumps, measles, rubella. And again, we saw a mumps outbreak a number of years ago around here. So
right on.
If you don't know, and if you're unsure, my advice to people typically is to get that booster.
Okay.
All right. That's great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for calling. 902-405-6000 is the number, and we're going to take a quick break. Stay on the line, Brian. We'll get to you momentarily. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show, 11:48, and this is House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. Joining us now on the line is Brian. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for waiting. What's your question?
Hey, thanks so much for taking my call. My question is, yesterday my father was diagnosed with pancreatitis. It turns out he was in a lot of pain and was potentially passing a gallstone. And there's talk about him maybe having to have his gallbladder removed. I guess I'm wondering if his gallbladder was removed, would he have to make any kind of serious changes to his diet long term after that, or would he be able to go back to somewhat normal?
Yeah,
all right.
People do find after gallbladder removal, your gallbladder releases bile salts, which does help your body break down fats and affects your diet. So most people compensate pretty well. Some people need to take supplements to help with digestion and such. So everybody's a little bit different, but most people manage just fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for your call. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Jack is joining us now. Hey, Jack, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Question for the doctor, obviously. Had a flare-up in my right elbow, gout. Is it okay to take acetaminophen, colchicine, and indomethacin all together?
The short answer is if those have been prescribed to you, then presumably yes. We often use indomethacin, an anti-inflammatory that we commonly use for gout. Colchicine is a common gout drug. Acetaminophen, aka Tylenol, is just a general pain control drug, which is a different class. So yeah, they don't interact with each other. The elbow is, you can get gout in the elbow. It's not the most common site. Has that been confirmed by somebody, or is that an ongoing thing?
Yeah, it's been confirmed. I get it in both elbows. I'm 61 years old. I get it in both elbows periodically, and I get it in my left ankle/foot periodically.
Yeah, so those are common drugs. If they've been prescribed to you and for you, there's no, that's a good combination. Then hopefully it settles it down for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Jack. Appreciate your call. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call. Gout in the elbow, that I've always associated with being in the feet.
Yeah, the most common site for gout is the big toe joint and the knee, but it can happen really in any joint. And elbows, as I said, are less common, but it does occur for sure.
And just a reminder, gout is a crystallization of, what is it again?
Gout is a crystallization of uric acid.
Uric acid.
It's in all our blood. People hear, acid and they think they're going to trip out or hallucinate, but it's just everybody has uric acid in their bloodstream. Some people accumulate too much of it, and when they do, it can crystallize in joints. There are medications that can lower that. There are, it's a bit of a myth. There's some correlation, but the disease of kings, they used to say, too much wine, too much meat, too much excess can contribute. And I think people with frequent gout, often tell us that, if I overdo it, that's what kicks it off. So there is a correlation there with diet and intake.
Are more people susceptible to gout than others?
It runs in families, but a lot of it does, again, depend on what your intake is.
All right, 902-405-6000 to ask your question of Dr. John Gillis. This is House Calls for a Wednesday, and interesting conversation around something called digital amnesia. And that's the idea that relying heavily on smartphones for directions, phone numbers, reminders, it might be affecting our memory. And some research suggests that the issue may be less about actual brain damage and more about how this technology interacts with aging, attention, and multitasking. So, when a patient comes to you and says that they feel more forgetful and blame their smartphones, how do you help distinguish between what is normal aging, what is tech habits, and what are real medical concerns?
Yeah, look, you ask people for somebody's phone number, they're like, I don't know, it's in my phone. I remember childhood phone numbers, but I have good memory for numbers. I think it does take us away from focusing on things I think sometimes we are too reliant, and can that affect our attention, our memory, that sort of thing? I think it can, and I think we should, try to do it less. I was in Chicago recently, and I was trying to, walk down the river to pick up a boat tour, and I just, out of habit, put on my Google map and was following it, but, due to the big buildings or whatever, it wasn't working. And, the person I was with was like, it's right over there. Just walk over there instead of staring at your bloody phone. So, I think it's a tendency we all get into.
Do you know if there's research going on in this area to, just help determine how much this technology is really sucking memory from us?
Yeah, I think people are starting to look at it. I haven't seen anything, quantifying it, and I think we all see it in our own lives. We say it to our kids, but then we do it ourselves, and we stare at our phones all the time. And I think it has an impact on attention. It probably has an impact on memory, and it has an impact on social interactions. As people, and I'm guilty of it, spending time on a phone when you're talking to people and doing other things.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to get in touch with Dr. John Gillis for our Wednesday house calls coming up on 11:55. So the World Cup 2026 is, Canada is one of the host countries. And this is a major event that is going to draw huge crowds. Just saw a recent report that raised concerns about how large international events like this can put a strain on local healthcare systems, everything from emergency rooms to ambulance services, especially in cities that are already under pressure. And, from a healthcare system perspective, what kind of pressures do large events like this actually create? And I don't think it's got to be something as large as World Cup to have an impact. I mean, just large events in our own city. Are they mostly predictable, or can they tend to catch systems off guard?
I think, cities and communities try to plan for these things. Unfortunately, when you have a system that's already kind of at the edge of its limit, it's tough to add capacity, but, I think efforts are made to do that. And, you assume that, events build that into their planning and their budgeting. Do they need to bring in extra paramedics or extra staff to handle the loads and these things? For the most part, you don't hear too much noise about these things, and it's well handled. But it comes back to planning and making sure that the community stay ahead of it and the planners stay ahead of it.
All right. Well, listen, it is 11:57. That is all the time we have this week for House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir.
Thank you, and nice to talk to you. Talk soon.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Take care. Thanks. All right. Yes, we are going to take a break for the news with Blake Priddle right at the top of the hour. And then we are back with the open hour. It is the Mid-Week Meltdown. Time to hear from you. If you've got a big story that's been taking up big space in your head, why don't you give us a call and tell us about it? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We'll get back to the phone lines for the Mid-Week Meltdown after the news. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. 12:05 is the time. Welcome to the noon hour, and it is time now for the Mid-Week Meltdown. It's time to hear from you. The show is all yours. Give us a call right now, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. What is on your mind this morning? Did you catch any of Prime Minister Mark Carney's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos yesterday? It's been described as one of the best political speeches in a decade. He clearly laid out how Canada can sharpen its global economic edge, but at the same time, he completely called out Donald Trump without even uttering his name. In response, Donald Trump had a speech this morning at the same World Economic Forum in Davos, and doesn't appear that he was liking what Prime Minister Mark Carney had to say. Trump said, "I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful." He went on to say that Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. If that's not gangster, I don't know what is. I mean, that's the type of talk that you would expect to hear from somebody in a gangster movie. Perhaps that is something that you want to talk about. 902-405-6000 is the number to call. Rob has given us a shout right off the top. Hey, Rob, good afternoon and welcome.
Hi, Lisa. I don't know if it's Rob or Ron. I'm Ron.
Oh, Ron, I'm sorry. I misread that. Terribly sorry.
No, it's okay. Last week there you mentioned different topics to talk about, and then you did mention Greenland about Thursday or Friday. I don't remember anybody actually calling in and talking about it, or I haven't really heard too many people call in and going on about this, but maybe they just want to sit back and let it play out.
Well, maybe they're just catching up because if, as somebody who watches the news cycle on a fairly regular basis, things move fast for me. And if you're just a casual observer to the news, I am sure the pace at which things change can be mind-blowing. But what are your thoughts on Greenland?
Well, I was going to mention something. You were talking about the news. Well, before Christmas, I caught this program. It's on CBC. I don't know if you've seen it or you know about it. It's called About That. Mm-hmm. It's with Andrew. With Andrew Chang.
Yep.
Okay, you know.
Oh yes, very much so. Yeah, he does.
Okay,
he does a fantastic job of taking really complex stories and just chunking them down so they can be easily understood.
Oh yeah, I seen it when he did the Minneapolis thing, and he had all these different angles of that car and what was going on. Where was the ICE officer, and stuff that you don't see on regular news channels. And the other good show, as I always watch, is on PBS, is Christiana Amanpour.
Oh, yes. I used to love her on CNN. I think she's still on CNN International, but so
she's on PBS, but she has somebody filling in for her. But anyway. No, I was just wondering about that because when the last Friday night there when Andrew Chang was on, he talked about Greenland and he was showing exactly like what is going on and why and all this stuff. And one thing there that he did mention was about the shipping lanes and how they it could really cut down on travel costs, or time going from China and have to go all the way around Russia and into North America instead of going south and all through Indian Ocean up Suez Canal. Right, it would cut down a lot of time, and he really got into detail a lot more about Greenland and. That's a great show. It's I learned a lot just in 22 minutes of watching that thing. It was just incredible.
So now, do you worry that what is happening and the talk surrounding Greenland is it's a prediction of things to come for Canada, perhaps? I mean, certainly when I read statements that Donald Trump is making. Saying things like, Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. I mean, if that's not a threat, I don't know what is.
Well, I think that before he even became president, I think a lot of the world leaders already knew what they were in for. And he's just carrying on just like he always has. And I couldn't believe what he's saying there now. It's just the same old Donald Trump. He's on there and he's supposed to be talking about something specific. Mm-hmm. And he's on there rambling about, still going on about Biden and stuff like this. Like the guy he's unhinged.
Yeah.
So
this isn't our mess to clean up. I mean, the United States has to do something about this insanity from the inside.
And so there's a guy on last night on PBS, and he's from the States. He's in the Senate. His last name is Kuhn. And
Chris Kuhn.
Was it Chris Kuhn?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
I do believe so.
Okay. And he was describing what was going on, and he actually said that within the Congress, they're starting to have private meetings and stuff like this about what Donald Trump is doing. And they say that within the next week or so, something's going to be done. Somebody's going to have to step in and talk to him and tell him just to cool it a bit and understand what you're really doing. Because he doesn't seem to understand. He just wakes up and he just tweets stuff out, and he doesn't even ask anybody for any guardrails or anything. Is this a good idea? No, he just does it.
Well, I think the time for talk is long past. I mean, he has made a disaster of international relations. He has flipped the entire world order on its head. I think it's time that Congress in the United States get the man a Happy Meal and a coloring book and send him on his way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because like you were saying, Chris Coons, he was on there and he was saying about what Donald Trump is doing now. Now he's going to slap more tariffs on because he can't get his way.
Yep.
And he said that's just going to do even more damage to the U.S. The tariffs have already destroyed it. The stock markets are terrible now. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I've seen a couple other programs. I'm not going to hold you up. I've seen a couple of other programs just on TV, documentaries about, and a good movie is the Apprentice, the actual movie, where it shows him from when he grew up right up to how he got to where he is, and I thought that was something else, but they had some other programs on now. I remember this description of Donald Trump, and they call him a malignant narcissist.
Yep.
So if you look that up, if anybody wants to look that up, they'll know exactly why he is the way he is.
Oh, so. Exactly. And his father was the exact same way.
Yeah.
All right, Ron, listen, thank you so much for getting us started this afternoon. Much appreciated. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Yeah, I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful, said Trump this morning in Davos, Switzerland. Trump also said that Canada gets many freebies from the U.S. and that we, quote, should be grateful. Are you feeling grateful? 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Some other things that are going on. New Brunswick health officials introducing some updated warnings on cigarette and vape products. They've described them as a step towards tackling smoking-related harms. Supporters say it's needed, but critics say the warnings alone they're not going to move the needle. What do you think? Are stronger warnings enough to reduce smoking and vaping, or do we need tougher policies like higher taxes or stricter access rules? Back to Davos for a minute. Perhaps you saw this. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sharing a stage with Katy Perry as he had a conversation about Canada's cultural influence around the world, talking about soft power. Some see celebrity diplomacy as a smart way to project Canadian values and identity. Others are calling it a bit tone deaf. What do you think? Blending pop culture and politics, does that help Canada's image and influence internationally, or is it just a distraction from real policy priorities? 902-405-6000 if you want to talk about that. Another report that's out finds that the combined wealth of Canada's richest billionaires now exceeds the gross domestic product of some entire countries. That sparked renewed debate about wealth inequality, taxes, and simple fairness in the economy. What do you think should be done about extreme wealth inequality in Canada? Should there be changes, taxes, to policy, to labor laws? What do you think? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We're going to take a quick break. I see that Bob is waiting on the line. We will get to him in a moment. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Good afternoon, 12:17, and welcome back. It is the Mid-Week Meltdown, and it is your time to talk. Tell us what is on your mind. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Bob, thank you so much for holding on the line. What is on your mind this afternoon?
Hi, I just wanted to say something about Venezuela. I found out back in 2019, under Trump's first term, they recognized Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela, which he wasn't, and that allowed them to steal Citgo, Venezuela's largest foreign investments, and now it's going to be sold off in a fire sale, which is pretty crazy.
Oh, what's crazy is that the oil tankers that they are still stopping. The oil is being sold off, and that money is going into an account in Qatar.
Yeah, it's insane. And the fellow that's going to benefit from the sale of Citgo, which is like a huge petroleum company, is Paul Singer, I believe. And it's there was like who donated to all these people's campaign, like Mark Rubio and Trump and all that stuff. It's quite insane once you look into that.
Yeah. Are you worried that this behavior is going to extend out? I mean, he's already taken, basically kidnapped a president. I mean, no matter how bad he was, that he was the president of that nation, and now it's all talk about Greenland. How long before the focus is turned back on Canada?
That's right. I'm not sure if you heard his speech about his own morality is what he follows instead of international law. That's mind-boggling that you could even say that.
Yeah.
Not get But I think Canada needs to start realizing that we need to arm ourselves better. Instead of taking our guns away from citizens, we need to make sure we get support, just like the military came out with recently with a report on what would happen if that happens.
Yeah, and now interesting. You know what? And I've not heard anybody else make the connection between the gun buyback program and sort of international. But you do make a point that we're asking people to give back all of these guns, but do we perhaps need them in the future? I mean, I hate to start thinking like that, but...
Oh, for sure. I forget the actual numbers, but it was something like 9 million people last year hunted, and there was like 0 incidents. So, like, it's not the legal gun owners, it's the illegal ones that we need to get off our streets.
Yeah. I mean... automatic rifles, that sort of thing. Do you feel that those weapons have a place in Canadian society, or is it just hunting rifles that should be allowed in Canada?
Yeah, well, most of ours were already non-automatic. You can't have automatic anyways, and they're limited to 5 rounds in a mag. So like, we're already well restricted. It's just just trying to get the people excited, and we're doing all this for you, but I don't know. It's something we need to look at. That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah. All right, Bob, thank you so much for your call. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. You take care.
All right. 902-405-6000 if you have anything to add, or 1-877-801-8255. I think earlier on this week we were talking about cost cutting at HRM, and let's see, Rob sent us an email and said, Halifax has 5,000 employees. London, Ontario has just over 3,000. Halifax has 545,000 people. London, Ontario has 633,000 people. Halifax has 1 employee for every 109 people. London has 1 employee for every 211 people. Either London, Ontario is underserving its population, or Halifax is spending more than it should on its payroll. Rob, what do you think? 902-405-6000 to chime in on that, or 1-877-801-8255. Something else closer to home. Mechanics in and around Halifax say that this freeze-thaw cycle has left the streets full of potholes, and their repair bays are packed. Tires, rims, suspensions are all feeling the pain. So are the roads out your way getting worse? How does this stack up compared to previous winters? And what should municipal leaders be doing to address winter damage and keep residents safe? Perhaps that is a topic that you want to explore. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to potholes, this is really a tough time of the year. The city said as of last week, there were about 235 reports of potholes in the municipality. That is an increase from last year, but we can put the blame squarely on the swings in temperature. So, that's the life cycle of a pothole certainly begins with those swinging temperatures, and we're seeing that on the roads in HRM as a result. 902-405-6000. Hey, we've got Greg who has given us a call. Welcome to the program, Greg.
Oh, thanks. That was super quick. I guess you don't have a ton of callers today.
Not so far, but looking forward to having the conversations.
Well,
what's on your mind?
I guess they're all a little shy like myself. I appreciate you, but I'm calling just to express my opinion and my thought on Carney's speech, which I probably am in the majority in saying is historical and just so crystal clear. So it was really appreciated, and I feel incredibly lucky and grateful that we have him at this point in time. It seems like it was almost meant to be for him to have this position at this point in time.
Yeah.
But what I find really interesting is with the rhetoric, with the nastiness, the insults, and the threats on every possible level that is coming from Trump and from his administration and from the cowards who are in his party, it really translates into American society, and even they export this too. The idea that anything goes. I have two small businesses, and they've required me over the years to travel fairly frequently to the U.S., and I can say I've enjoyed my trips for the most part, and I've dealt with a lot of really great people, and I've seen some really beautiful places. But the characteristic that I really noticed over the last 6 to 8 years changing corporately in the U.S. is that they are coming like their leadership. Anything goes. Like the competitiveness is hyper competitive, and they just don't seem to have the same sense of balance and fair play. And that is basically their foreign policy now as well. So it's just so interesting how leadership affects the behavior of business as well.
Yeah, I mean, can you even say the U.S. has a policy? I mean, their policies now are whatever is on, the Mango Mussolini's mind when he gets up in the morning.
Well, that's right. He is reactionary. At least it looks that way. But I think overall the policy is clear, and that is to selfishly fill your own pockets at the expense of everyone else, fairness, agreements. And we know that about him and his government, but it's just interesting from my perspective to see what were traditionally, and I'm not going to name names, but traditionally really solid businesses in the U.S. who obviously they had their own business interest in mind in every transaction, but they also understood balance and fair play, and that's disappearing. So this is a massive, massive cultural problem that they have, and I think the payback on this for them, it's not immediate, but the way that they're isolating themselves and the rest of the world's going to isolate them, it is going to sting them ultimately more than anybody else in the long run, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned the world reaction to the speech from Mark Carney. Interesting, the New York Times, their headline said, Canada flexes on global stage with an eye to its own survival. Politico's take was Canada's Mark Carney calls on world to adapt to rupture caused by, quote, great powers. Rolling Stone says Canada PM rips Trump's Greenland push. Quote, we are in the midst of a rupture. So it, certainly looks like the international markets are looking at Canada and looking at this speech, and they are recognizing it, I think, in a very similar way to how you recognized it as quite historic.
It is. It really is historic. I think every school kid, junior high school, should listen to this speech. But I think we should also maybe start exporting our values a little bit more. Carney obviously did it in the speech, but I mean even school to school. I think every school in Canada should, whether the American school likes it or not, pick a school in the U.S., a twin, and start sharing details about us, about each other, and inspire them to do the same.
That's awesome.
And just see if we can help them become a little bit more worldly, a little bit more aware, because the greatest weakness of the U.S. at the moment is a really large segment of people who just don't have a clue. And I'm not being nasty or sarcastic, but they just don't.
All right. Listen, Greg, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your call this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. 902-405-6000 to get in on the conversation. Craig, John, stay on the line. We're going to get to you in just a moment. Blake Prittle is standing by with a news update. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And so glad to have you joining us on this afternoon, 12:35. We are in the middle of the Mid-Week Meltdown for a Wednesday. John, Robert, hang on the line. I will get to you momentarily. First up, Craig, thank you for waiting patiently, my dear.
Hi, Lisa. One observation and maybe a question.
Okay.
I really appreciate and like your comment about what is it you called it? The orange Mussolini to
the mango. Sorry, the mango Mussolini. Yeah.
Mango Mussolini, yeah. And the problem that they and consequently the world has in their leadership, and it has to be addressed from within. With that, Canada, we're not too far off that mark in that we have a party, UCP. The Conservative Party, led by Pierre Poilievre, and their values and their narcissistic, racist values seem to be embedded from the MAGA to the south, and that's unfortunate. And it sounds like I haven't heard much or seen anything that is being done internally within the party, but I did see, and this goes to my question, that it was announced that Pierre Poilievre is not going to run in his riding that he was given in Alberta.
Correct.
So what is that saying? Like, is that preparation for an exchange of a leader in the Conservative Party? Are they finally looking internally and doing something about the MAGA type of values they seem to be following? I don't know, but it concerns me.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, because we have to have a responsible opposition to hold Prime Minister Carney, unbelievable job on a global scale and doing as we, the Canadian voters, wanted, and is doing a wonderful job in handling Trump, I believe. But once that's resolved in hopefully 6 months, maybe 3 years, who's going to hold that party responsible? And who's going to be viable to the next? We got to look. We got to look ahead. We're looking at short-term Greenland, et cetera, but we got to look 5 years ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the point that you raise is, I don't think the entire Conservative Party is full of Maple MAGA. There is definitely a very strong, very vocal Maple MAGA group that rests within the Conservative Party, and I really do think it's on the rest of the party to make it clear that those are not the values that they stand for, and really show that there is an alternative.
That's right. Unfortunately, the alternative in the NDP is only 7 strong. And
they're struggling. They're in the midst of picking a leader, and so I think they're going to be out for a while until they pick a leader and Canada gets to know that new leader.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, much appreciated, Craig. Thank you. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Hey, John, thank you so much for holding the line. What can we do for you today?
My God, I was going to call about the gun control, but after that last caller, I just can't believe how brainwashed everybody is. Poilievre, here's one for you. Do you realize his adopted father is gay, for one?
What's that got to do about the price of tea in China?
No, you're missing the point.
Okay.
You're going on that he's MAGA and MAGA and MAGA.
No. I said that there is a very strong Maple MAGA contingent within the Conservative Party.
Okay, and which Conservative politicians are the strong MAGA politicians? Can you name them, please?
I think...
just what I thought.
Well, I think Pierre leans in that. Certainly there's a lot of folks out in Alberta that are leaning in that direction, that are, calling for separation. I think that they're being misled in their thinking on that
really,
subject.
But after the last 10 years of Liberals and this and that, look, we have people in tents everywhere. I nearly went homeless. We're overpopulated. My father died in the healthcare system. Like, what is everybody happy about with this elbows up crew? And Poilievre's wife, she's a refugee of color. Like, where is the racism? Which conservative politicians are this Maple Mag? Can just anybody out there name one? And even Leslie Lewis, she's a conservative MP, black immigrant from Jamaica. She said it herself when she was running for the leader of the Conservative Party. If she was running for the Liberals and the NDP, CBC and the news would have been all over it because she was running for Conservative. No one even knows who she is.
Where was she running?
That's what I mean. Like, you don't even know that this woman was running for the Conservative Party leadership back in 2022 because they never even showed it. It was when Poilievre was running for the leadership.
Right. Well, certainly I remember the name and watching the leadership the leadership convention. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't understand. Like, everybody, like, people are like, they're like, oh, he's going to ban abortions or he's going to ban gay rights. Like, the fact that people believe this is just absolutely, like, ludicrous.
Well, certainly his approach has not been very warm and fuzzy to voters. I mean,
where do you get your information from? Is it CBC, CTV?
I got the information from my own eyes, watching videos of him speak, watching him in interviews.
On what was it? CBC? Because you have to remember, the Liberals fund CBC $1.5 billion.
No. The Liberals don't fund CBC. That's the Canadian government funds.
Which is the Liberal government.
Well,
you'll see that
this week. Next week it could be the Conservatives. 15 years ago it was the Conservatives. I mean, it's the government. It's the people of Canada that fund the CBC.
Yeah, I know, and isn't it ridiculous though? Your tax dollars are paying Rosemary Barton and David Cochrane $500,000 a year each when we have people in tents.
Well,
it's kind of mind-boggling.
Don't know if that's the kind of money that they're throwing around, because certainly was not the case when I worked there many years ago. But anyway, John, I've got to move. I've got to leave it there. I've got phone lines that are jammed up, but appreciate your time this morning. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Robert, thank you so much for holding. What is on your mind?
Well, Donald Trump there, instead of making enemies with his other countries, he should worry about what's going on in his own country. 70% of the Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and 40 states in America is having fresh water problems.
Mm-hmm.
He has problems. He should making enemies with his allies. The man is just ludicrous. He's an idiot, and he's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, how do you deal with crazy? You can't. You can't predict it. You can't analyze it to see where. I mean, we can go on his past behavior to perhaps recognize patterns, but there is no predicting how this man is going to govern.
I read a book, a relative of his. And do you understand Donald Trump? You have to read that book because when he was born, his mother and father didn't pay much attention to him, and they never. He was alive from the start. See, he was born. He doesn't know what the truth is.
No. Exactly. And he certainly doesn't know what the truth is now.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Listen, all right, Rob, we got to leave it there for now. We have other phone lines to get to, and we're up against a break, but really, really appreciate your time this morning. You take care.
You're welcome, and you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, thank you so much. I'm having a blast here doing it until, Dan will be back on Monday. So thank you so much, Robert. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. 12:45 is the time. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. Hang on. Ken, John, Rob, we've got you locked in. We want to hear from you in a moment. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And good afternoon. Welcome back to the show. 12:48 in the home stretch of the Mid-Week Meltdown, and the phone lines are indeed hopping. We're going to get to Rob now. Thank you for waiting, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just enjoying the comedy hour. Maple MAGA. Maybe I'm Maple MAGA. I don't know. I mean, I'm for responsible immigration. The Liberals admit it. They screwed it up, but I'd like them to fix it. I'd like them to have responsible immigration, not what we've seen. And as far as Poilievre being not everybody getting that warm, fuzzy feeling, I think a lot of people are just fed up. 10 years of Trudeau, look what the best part of this country's gone, you know? Luckily, there's still a lot of good people here and people I'm proud of. But I don't give this Maple MAGA. Who in the Conservative Party is Maple MAGA?
Well, I think you'll see a large contingent in Alberta, the folks who are fighting for Alberta separation, for one.
Within the federal Conservative Party, who's Maple MAGA?
Well, I mean, I can look up the MPs. I truly think that Pierre Poilievre is certainly leaning in that direction. He's certainly not doing anything to disavow the extremists in his party, I guess, is probably the best way to put it.
They have a lot of support. They had a lot of support in the last election. They didn't quite get it done.
Didn't quite get it done.
No,
Poilievre couldn't get. What do you mean? I mean, Poilievre couldn't even get elected in his home riding. He had to branch out to Alberta.
A lot of people drank the Carney They drank the Kool-Aid, right? They believed that Carney was going to be the man. But you know, maybe if Maple MAGA, if you're opposed to the firearms confiscation, is what it is. If you're opposed to that, if you want responsible immigration, if you think we should have a strong military, if we should look after our borders, all of this stuff, you know, if that's Maple MAGA, you know, I guess count me in.
I don't consider that Maple MAGA. I think we need to increase and strengthen our military 100%.
I agree with a couple of callers ago who said everybody's got to stop buying everything these liberal journalists or political activists on CBC and CTV, when they stop believing that baloney, we'll be better off. I think Canada needs to bleed a little more, just like we did with the 10 years of Trudeau. We need to bleed a little more, and then people will be ready to finally get out there and have some positive change.
All right, Rob, thank you so much
for that.
Day. Take care. Much appreciated. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Back to the phones where Ken has been sitting. Thank you so much for waiting, Ken.
Hi, Lisa. I guess if you consider the boys Maple MAGA, then you can label me the same thing, because when we elect a leader, or he gets chosen because the other one got dumped, and does nothing, absolutely nothing, but fly around the world for 10 months, does one deal, makes a speech, and then all of a sudden he's a superstar, right? It's the liberal twist at all. It must come out in the campaigns or whatever, and the paying card-carrying liberals or whatever say, okay, let's put a twist on this. Let's start calling Poilievre Maple MAGA, so people hate him. Well, Trump didn't give Pierre Poilievre $80 billion for a business, did he?
What are you talking about?
He gave Brookfield $80 billion after they moved to the U.S.
Okay, what is Brookfield?
Brookfield was owned by Carney.
Okay, and this is coming from...
That's his business. he used to have it in Canada before he became prime minister.
Well,
then he moved it down to the
I know what you're
States.
talking about now. Okay, sorry. Well, my understanding, he didn't own the business. My understanding, he sat on the board.
No, you better look a little deeper than Lisa. No, it's his company.
Okay, I must be
Right?
thinking of something completely different then, because I thought that he sat on the board and the board made the decision to relocate. He was off the board when that. I thought he was a member of the board. That I didn't. My understanding was not that he owned it.
Yeah, he's already supposedly he's away from it now, where he's the prime minister, and he's already gotten nailed already in Ottawa for having secret meetings with the staff or who are looking after the company, quote unquote. Yeah, right. We all know how that goes. But this is a person, Lisa, who admittedly. So when somebody said, before he was prime minister, he was under Trudeau as the economic advisor. How did that go? Real nice. Right? He already said, "I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman."
Well, hang on a second. How did that go? Real nice. He was the guy who was basically with his hand on the rudder during COVID. I mean, Canada is recognized as one of the countries that came out of COVID better than many others economically.
Really, and people can't even afford a car now, let alone a house. But we came out really good, did we?
Well, I don't think it's. I don't think you can put the blame for every single economic problem that has ever arisen in Canada's history on the back of Mark Carney, just because he served as the governor of the Bank of Canada for a few years.
Yeah. Well, he was Trudeau's advisor, right? And who's to blame for the last 10 years of Canada going downhill?
Well,
right?
I guess.
Was there anybody living in tents 10 years ago, Lisa?
Yes, there were.
Right?
There were plenty of people living in tents 10 years ago. There will be plenty of people living in tents 10 years from now.
Yeah, you got that right, as long as we're under this leadership.
All right, Ken, we'll leave it there for now. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We've got time for one last call. And John, you are on the line. Welcome to the program.
Lisa, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, John?
Great. And we're going to go with a little history lesson. All right?
All right.
Trudeau was a teacher. Carney's a businessman. He has savvy. He has experience. He has some stocks, and he was on the board for Brookfield. But so what? He makes a few bucks on the side, as long as it's legit, right? So what if Brookfield puts a bid in? They're the lowest, fine, right? I mean, look what Trump's doing. Trump's getting paid for all these businesses, right?
Well, exactly. He's charging. He's wanting to charge Mark Carney $1 billion to sit on this board of peace.
And, where's that money going to be? It's going to be held by Trump, and he's going to have control of it. All right,
exactly.
So he can distribute it, right? So then, when you look at Pierre Poilievre, he's a career. That's all he is. Does he have real business experience? No. This is one of the first times in a long time that we've had a prime minister that has business sense, and that speech yesterday, or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just liberal supporters that are saying that speech yesterday was historic. I mean, I just went through the headlines from, ABC, The Rolling Stone, The Guardian. All of them had the exact same thing to say, that, it was historic. It was very sharp. It was very stark. And, certainly, I think Donald Trump recognized that with his own speech this morning when he warned Mark and warned Canada that Canada lives because of the United States. Personally, I want a prime minister that is willing to stand up to that and make it perfectly clear that Canada never will be a part of the United States of America. John? I think we lost him. All right. Listen, we'll leave it there for now. It is 12:58. Want to say a big thank you to everybody who called in today, who joined into the conversation and shared their stories. Really appreciate it. If you missed any part of the program, you can always catch it online at halifax.citynews.ca. Keep the conversation going, and thanks for spending part of your day with us. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and let's do it all again tomorrow.